The Arab Spring. From the dusty streets of Tunis to the bustling squares of Cairo, a wave of popular uprisings swept across the Arab world, challenging authoritarian regimes and demanding change. This period, stretching from 2010 to 2012, witnessed moments of great hope and equally profound despair, leaving an indelible mark on the region and the world. Decades of authoritarian rule, economic stagnation, rampant corruption, and a lack of political freedoms had created a tinderbox of resentment. The spark that ignited this tinderbox was the self-immolation of Mohamed Bouazizi, a Tunisian street vendor, in December 2010. Bouazizi's desperate act of protest resonated deeply with millions across the region who faced similar struggles. It unleashed a torrent of pent-up anger and frustration, giving voice to the voiceless and inspiring ordinary citizens to demand a better future. The Arab Spring was not just about politics, it was about dignity, opportunity, and the fundamental right to shape one's own destiny. The events that unfolded in the months and years that followed would shake the foundations of the Arab world, toppling dictators, sparking civil wars, and triggering a series of aftershocks that continue to reverberate today. The spark that ignited the Arab Spring came from the humble streets of Sidi Bouzid, Tunisia. On December 17, 2010, Mohamed Bouazizi, a 26-year-old street vendor, set himself ablaze in a public act of despair after a policewoman confiscated his fruit cart. This act, driven by frustration with economic hardship and official corruption, resonated deeply with Tunisians from all walks of life. Protests, fueled by anger over unemployment, poverty, and lack of political freedom, rapidly spread from Sidi Bouzid to other parts of Tunisia, eventually reaching the capital, Tunis. Faced with mounting pressure and nationwide protests, Tunisia's longtime ruler, President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, fled the country within a month of Bouazizi's death, marking the first victory of the Arab Spring. Tunisia's success in ousting its dictator served as a beacon of hope for other Arab populations struggling under authoritarian rule. The Tunisian revolution, though far from perfect, offered a glimmer of hope for a region yearning for democracy and a better future. The echoes of Tunisia's revolution soon reverberated across the Arab world, finding particularly fertile ground in Egypt. On January 25, 2011, inspired by the events in Tunisia, thousands of Egyptians took to the streets of Cairo and other cities, demanding the end of President Hosni Mubarak's 30-year rule. For 18 days, Tahrir Square in central Cairo became the epicenter of the Egyptian revolution. Protesters from all walks of life united in their call for political and economic reforms. On February 11, 2011, after weeks of unrelenting protests and growing international condemnation, President Mubarak finally succumbed to the popular will and stepped down. The fall of Mubarak was a watershed moment in the Arab Spring, signaling the potential for seismic change across the region. The wave of popular uprisings that toppled regimes in Tunisia and Egypt soon spread eastward, engulfing much of the Arab world. In Libya, Muammar Gaddafi's brutal crackdown on peaceful protesters ignited a civil war that drew international intervention, and ultimately led to his downfall and death in October 2011. Yemen, already grappling with poverty, internal divisions, and a weak central government, witnessed months of protests demanding the ouster of President Ali Abdullah Saleh, who had ruled the country for over 3 decades. From Morocco to Bahrain, from Syria to Oman, the Arab Spring unleashed a torrent of grievances, challenging the established order and demanding political, economic, and social reforms. The wave of uprisings, while ultimately leading to mixed outcomes, irrevocably altered the political landscape of the Arab world. One cannot discuss the Arab Spring without acknowledging the pivotal role of social media. Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms became virtual town squares, allowing citizens to organize protests, share information, and mobilize support both within their countries and internationally. Videos of protests, accounts of police brutality, and calls for action spread like wildfire across social media platforms, galvanizing international attention and putting pressure on governments to address the protesters' demands. Social media, once dismissed by some as a frivolous distraction, proved to be a potent force for change, amplifying the voices of the marginalized and connecting individuals across borders in their pursuit of freedom and justice. The Arab Spring, a period of immense hope and upheaval, has left behind a mixed legacy. While it succeeded in toppling long-standing dictators and sparking important conversations about democracy and human rights, it also ushered in an era of instability and violence in some parts of the region. Tunisia, the birthplace of the Arab Spring, remains a beacon of hope, having successfully transitioned to a democratic system. However, other countries like Libya and Yemen remain mired in conflict, their hopes for a democratic future shattered by civil war and political fragmentation. Despite its mixed legacy, the Arab Spring remains a significant turning point in the history of the Middle East, demonstrating the yearning for freedom and dignity that exists across the region.